Hi everyone, Bifties here. Welcome to my Exile. This video is part of my Made Easy series for Path of Exile 2. I'm trying to share everything I've learned in the first 200 hours of playing the game so that it will make it easier for you and hopefully you can enjoy the game a little bit more. This video is all about flasks, and while it might seem really simple, there are a couple of things that you can do with your flasks that will make playing this game quite a bit easier. Obviously, you've got your health and mana flasks, and they're going to give you health and mana. But you will find when you have the magic or blue flasks that they do have one or two stats on them, and depending on what stats they've got, it can make quite a difference. Personally, my absolute favourite is to get back charges per second. I've seen anywhere from 0.15 to 0.25, so that's a 15% or 25% of a charge per second. Now, those charges are not actual flasks, they are just charges. So when you look at your flask, you may see that your flask will use 10 out of 65 or 10 out of 75 charges for each use. Now, that means that if you've got 65 charges and you're using 10, that you've got 6 flasks and half a flask is remaining, so therefore your next flask will charge quicker. Now, when they charge from killing monsters. So you probably find that you are not running out of flasks while you're clearing maps, but you may find that you are running out of flasks, as I occasionally do, when fighting a boss. Now, the bosses can be particularly difficult, so when you run out of flasks, it becomes really hard. You've got to try and stay alive, and if there are no monsters to kill in addition to the boss, then you know that you're not going to have any flasks coming back. Now, if you have the charges per second stat on your flasks, then you can work out exactly how long it's going to be that you need to survive until you get another flask. And that getting back a flask can be the difference between succeeding and failing. So for me, I think the most important stat that you're ever going to find on a flask is getting the flasks back per second. Now, people may disagree with me, and that's absolutely fine, but if you're finding that you're running out of flasks, then it may well be a stat that's going to really help you. Now, this is the point in the video where I confess to being somewhat addicted to flasks. I find it hard when I'm moving through maps to not loot a flask that drops. And the reason that I do this is that when I return to the town once my inventory is full, then what I will do is actually use crafting in order to take a normal grey flask and convert it into a blue 2, or occasionally you'll actually see a 3 stat blue flask. Now, you can do that by using an orb of transmutation in order to change a normal into a blue, a standard into a magic, and then you can use a orb of augmentation to then add any additional stats if it has the room. What you're doing is, and this would be my suggestion, is keep doing this all the time, and anytime you find that you do get a flask with charges per second, then keep this, because if it's not better than the one you've already got, keep it in your stash, because that way when you start a new character, at some point you probably will, then that character can almost immediately start with a flask that gets stats back. Now, the other stats that come with flasks might be additional healing. You might see 46% more healing. So if it was a 100 healing flask, it will now do 146. So additional healing is really worth it, because you're going to want to have as much healing back as possible. Another one that you might see is healing instantly. Now, I think healing instantly is really good, but in my experience, and I don't know if this is a rule, but in my experience, I very rarely see, or have never seen, instant healing along with charges per second. I don't think they pair, but if I'm wrong, then I would suggest that that's a really good flask that you stick with. Now, you can look at how much healing it's giving you back, but you also want to see how long that takes. Now, understanding how long it's going to be will help you, so you should always be aware of how long it's going to take and knowing whether or not you're getting anything back instantly. So if you are getting charges per second, you can probably work out that, let's say you've got 10 out of 75 charges, that means that you've got half a charge left over. If you're getting 0.25 charges back per second, then that means that every 4 seconds you're going to be getting back a charge. So therefore you can now work out exactly how many seconds it will be before you get your next charge, and you can probably keep an eye on the boss and maybe move around the arena avoiding any damage, and you'll get your charges back. If you know how much health you're getting back, then you can actually work out how beneficial it's going to be and whether or not you want to engage or wait for another flask to come back. And if you're getting anything back instantly, then you know how quickly you can react. But if you're not getting it back instantly, do make sure you're aware of how many seconds it's going to take before you get back all of that healing or all of that mana. So I like 3 seconds seems to be a really good one. I don't know if you get less than that, but if you do, then that's even better. But sometimes you might see 5 seconds, and 5 seconds might not seem like a long time, but when you're in a fight, it can feel like a long time, and it can mean that you maybe get a bit too overconfident and engage more than you should. So here's my suggestion with flasks. I hope that it's helpful to you. I think that the per second is really worth having. I think collecting all of the flasks and using them as practice for crafting is really useful. And obviously the other thing that you want to be doing is always looking to try and upgrade your flask in order to get more health. So you're probably starting the beginning of the game with 50, you'll soon see 100, but you might get up to 200, 500, 1,000. I think because I've got flasks just at the beginning of the end game that are giving me a high percentage extra, that I'm probably looking at about a 1,500 health points healing flask. And that's really helpful. I'm getting it back over 3 seconds, and I'm getting a quarter of a charge every second as well. So I hope this is helpful for you. It really is a video for beginners, from somewhat of a beginner, but it really did make life a lot easier for me, especially with the bosses. So thank you very much for watching. Check out any of my other videos if you want other tips and guides. I'm trying to keep these videos to one topic per video, so that maybe in the comments section people can start sharing information just about that particular topic. Thanks again for watching. I'm Bifties. This is The Cave. Welcome to my exile. See you next time.